Oh, another match point.
Incredible third set here.
They changed their strategy a little bit and they fought their way back in.
There it is. Game, set, and match.
Hello and welcome to the 2024-25 APTA Tour. We are live from the Aronimink Golf Club in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, bringing you the Aronimink Open with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsors Volley and Corian.
Welcome to the semifinal of the Aronimink Open between Tommy Gregurovic and Tim Ostojic and Guillermo Nunez and Mark Powers. Mr. Nunez to serve first.
So I'd just like to welcome everyone to the 24-25 APTA Tour. We're live from the Aronimink Club in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, bringing you the Aronimink Open with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsors, Volley and Corian. Tournament support has been provided by the following local sponsors. From the bronze level, Flying Fish Brewing Company, Guilford Hall Brewery, get a Guilford. Wynn Barnes, Berkshire Hathaway, for all your mainline and Philadelphia real estate needs, redefine. Xenon Paddle, buy a paddle player for paddle players. At the silver lever, McDonald's Dune Family Enterprises. Please visit your local Dune Family McDonald's. And the gold level, Column Advisory, whether you're buying or selling a business, Column Advisory offers strategic insight and hands-on support every step of the way. I'm Guy Moore, here with Oliver Jones. Great match set up here, Oliver. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think we're in for a treat this evening. I think we're already starting to see, a lot of, aggressive work from Guy and Mark, and let's see if the defense from Tin and Tommy is up for it this evening.
Yeah, so just so everyone knows our players, on the top right of the screen, we have Tommy Gregurovic, and then we got 10 on the top left. Why don't you give us the correct pronunciation of their last names there, Oliver?
I think it's Gregurovic and then Ostojic.
Oh, that was perfect. And then on the bottom right of our screen, the left, we have
Nunez. We got Guillermo Nunez and Mark Powers, national champions.
Mark Powers in the blue and gray hat and kind of the baby blue sweat top there.
So I think if any of the viewers were here for the quarterfinals and watching the Matt Moyo, Tomas, and then Tin and Tommy, that match, I think we're going to see a bit of a faster pace for this one. That was a very slow match. That's kind of basic for the style that Matt and Tomas wanted to play. I think with Mark and Guy, we're going to see a lot more action, a lot more fireworks. I think we've seen that very early doors already, and that's probably what I'm anticipating.
Well, too, Oliver, I mean, there's a threat on overheads from both sides with Mark Powers and Guillermo Nunez. And I tell you what, Nunez hits a lefty. I don't even know if I wanted to call it a cutter anymore. I mean, he lets that ball drop so low, he almost hits like a slider where it stays low near the snowboard. It is a devastating left-handed overhead.
Absolutely, and I think what we saw from him in Baltimore, in that final and that whole tournament was just the ability to mix in the rollers and the slashes, that little slider you're talking about as well. Like he's really got it all, and it's you never really know what's going to come. So it's going to be it's always a challenge to play against him.
And Gregurovic and Ostojic, I mean, very, very talented team. And, you know, a lot of these new players that just haven't been playing that long, including Nunez. I mean, Mark Powers has been around a long time, but, I mean, these guys play the game well and they play it right after not playing for very long at all.
It's really remarkable, and you have you know, Alvi and Jose, you know, coming up so fast as well. I think the live streaming has really helped, because now guys, instead of having to do all those hours on the court, they can sit at home and watch, and they can learn the game that way. It's really led to massive growth in the level of the sport from these young talented players.
Yeah, not only are they watching their opponents and breaking down patterns and
40, 15.
weaknesses or things that other teams have used against them to be successful, they're also watching themselves and seeing what adjustments they can make, right?
Absolutely. We're seeing a fast couple games here, and you know, as long as it's going that way for Tin and Tommy, they're loving it.
I tell you what, talk about fast. I mean, it's about as quick of a pace as you're going to see.
A couple of three cheap ones in a row here, and so changing the complexion a little bit. Let's see what happens with this big point.
Oliver, I'll tell you something else that across the board with men's and women's paddle that has gotten remarkably better, even though we don't teach it a lot. The forehand volleys that the forehand volleys have become ridiculously good. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I think there's, you know, historically there's been that kind of idea that, okay, only backhands. And I remember when I was starting, and it was, oh yeah, 80% of your volleys should be backhands, maybe even 90. And now we're seeing guys explore a little bit more and be open to that forehand as well. And I agree. I think forehands definitely have a place in the game for volleys, even though it kind of seems like a bit like heresy to say that.
Well, I think with the transition game too is meaning, again, both on the men's and ladies side, you know, the moving up and back and driving through players. And I mean, you know, generally there's not one person, there are not two players coming forward at once. I mean, you're covering a lot more of the court than you have to when you're at the net with your partner. So you have to look for a little bit more than just a backhand volley.
Curious to see how this game goes, because if we know that Mark and Guy want to kind of push the tempo here, they're going to feel like their weaponry is good enough to get 3 points. So we've seen them very early, as we would expect, you know, early firing, just to like a bit of a kind of a heat check. They want to see what Tin and Tommy, if you know, the defense is up to the challenge. It's interesting to see how this game goes, and see if we get into some like kind of longer points and we start to see how the match could go, if you know, as it develops.
So there's a great example of a unbelievable forehand volley by Mark Powers. I mean, that ball was on his shoelaces. He's reaching to his right, and Nunez had to cover his line, but and generally Nunez likes the pattern where he goes 2 or 3 cutter overheads to that deuce side, and then he switches it up and goes to the ad side, just like you saw there. Generally, he'll hit a slider or a cutter there too, but We'll go here. And what you'll see, Oliver, too, is Nunez loves to move forward, and he's got such soft hands.
15-40.
Yeah, I always love watching Nunez do this blitzing, dinking and blitzing. He's turned it into a real art form. So much pressure when he's doing it.
Well, there was a volley he hit between his legs at Nationals in the finals last year. It was a lob volley, actually, and he did it with intent. I mean, it was, and he lobbed over his opponent's head. I don't know if it was Salazar or Regalado, but he lobbed over their head. I mean, it was that good. See if he works that pattern. Oliver, is that your playlist going on at Aronimink up there?
So we have a live band going here at Aronimink. The party is in full bloom, and a lot of guys, a lot of gals out here enjoying the festivities. A lot of matches on four courts. We can see a little sneak on the left here of I think it's the ladies semi, and yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of people out enjoying the action.
That's a very long ladies semi-final match over there, right?
Yeah, looks like a good battle. We see the players now starting to get into a little bit more some of the errors that we saw in the first couple of games have trimmed down a bit as people are finding the range. Obviously a little bit different now from the daytime when the last time these players would be on the court with a little bit warmer temps, so very normal to see some mistakes as people are finding the range, but starting to get a little bit more quality here.
And it's still a pretty fast-paced match, and the teams from the baseline are creating patterns where the ball's moving from side to side, and that's where you'll see those open drives, just like that last point there. I'll be interested to see if they slow it down a little bit more where the ball's not moving from the forehand to the backhand side quite as much.
Absolutely. As this set develops, and hopefully it develops, very closely, I think we'll start to see the points get longer. People start to make a little bit more conservative choices as the impact of the points, gets greater. So Gregurovic to serve here, and let's see how it goes.
Love.
That is one loud band right there, Oliver.
They're keeping the party going out here at Aronimink Golf Club. Keeping the people nice and warm and toasty under the tent.
And Mark Powers should learn from that overhead. He better get that to the side screen, otherwise it's going to be a rocket of a backhand coming back at you.
Yeah, and speaking of rockets, there's one right there.
Yeah, Nunez does such a good job of spotting that drive, doesn't he?
Absolutely. It's not always the most comfortable place to be up at the net when you know that drive is coming.
Well, not only that, he just has no backswing. It's on you so quickly. And I do think at some point Nunez and Powers spin overheads will have a big impact on Gregurovic and Ostojic.
And so much, you're absolutely right, and so much of, because it's the end of a long day, so your legs are already tired, and now you have to deal with, Mark's spin overheads. You've got Nunez spin overheads. It's just a lot to deal with when it's already been a long day of paddle, and this is the advantage that the Powers and Nunez have. It's you know, because you can really eat into the legs of your opponent at this stage in a tournament.
Right, and everyone's been sitting around for a little bit, right? So
15
you
love.
got to get warmed back up physically, and not only that, mentally as well, right?
100%. I think if you're Gregurovic and Ostojic here, I think you know, unless you're winning the games, you know, because of some maybe sloppy mistakes, I think you want to be ready to dig in and make some long points because you know you're going to need to make these guys, you know, kind of be out here for a while.
And Powers and Nunez need to have a set scheme where they know who's hitting the overhead and they know who they're attacking, where they can play more in the stagger, because both of them hit such offensive overheads that they don't want to fight over it.
Yeah, good problems to have, right? When you could go either Powers' overhead or Nunez.
Yeah, and to play in that stagger on both sides. And two, Oliver, the more that they know who they're playing, the more they can adjust instead of it being random.
Absolutely, yeah. You're going to see what's working, and then almost like two scorpions in nature, when they fight, you find a weak point, and then you just keep attacking that weakness till you get what you want. Oops. And to your point there, yep, we just saw the little bit of miscommunication.
30-15.
Exactly. And that's what I've been feeling, is a little uncertainty on you know, at the Nationals last year when these guys were playing Regalado Salazar, I mean, it was so defined who was hitting overheads, and it was Nunez, and you know, the lefty overhead is obviously, we've always all played lefty and righty combinations, but still the spin's different, and it's just, you have to pay attention to everything about it because it's a lefty. I mean, lefties have a big advantage in this game.
Yeah, with the lefty-righty, you can cover so much of the middle of the court overheads. It's,
like this. That's that spin that he likes that. By the way, Oliver, I have a question for you.
Oh, bring it, guy. What you got?
Have you ever seen two scorpions in nature?
I have not. No.
Okay. Well, I'm just checking.
I just know how they fight.
Good. That's a good answer. See, I like that combo. Ooh.
You called the ball out? Yeah, but how was it? The ball was good. 40-15.
Yeah, that ball looked like it caught every bit of the line. It's just so hard to call that when it's got that much spin on it.
Great umpiring there. I love that decisive call. Call it like you see it.
Game, Nunez, Powers. They lead the first set 3-2.
Oliver, let me tell you about one of our sponsors, Volley. Train in real game scenarios with Serve and Volley, the world's first responsive play drill. Volley's new AI-powered features tracks your position, the ball, and returns every serve for targeted practice. Try it today on the Volley app.
Have you used the machine, guy? The volley machine?
Love the machine.
Great, isn't it? It's one of the most sophisticated ball machines I've ever had the pleasure to use. Really cool product.
Yeah, and it's great for the professionals. It's great for the membership. Just all around, it's just a fantastic piece of equipment, and it is what it is. I mean, it is AI enabled, and you can just do so many things with it. This is where Gregurovic and Ostojic need to be careful. I mean, 15 love, that's a great start to this game, but this is where Nunez and Powers sometimes get some separation.
I'm not sure we've seen the best of any of the players yet. I think people still, you know, as you say, Guy, you know, kind of had a long rest and now we're back on the court. The conditions are different. It's a bit cooler out there. I think players are still trying to find the range here.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Oliver. You know, when you play a full day of paddle and get a little bit of a break, but not only that, you get a little bit of a break, but you're playing in the day and now you're playing under lights. It's different. One thing I'm interested to see too, Oliver, is
40-15.
is when we'll see Nunez make some moves forward and get involved in that little cat and mouse game that you and I know he loves to do.
Yeah, it's almost as if Powers and Nunez are sort of saving something for the moment, you know, and not, you know, I'm not seeing that full intensity that we're used to seeing from them. Like, just say you may have seen it at Nationals or other big matches. I think we're still in that kind of early stages where we're kind of feeling out the environment, feeling out the opponents. Certainly a lot of fantastic shot making, beautiful screen drive. Another one there from Ostojic. And before you know, we're all 3-all, and it's like all square, and this set is a massive battle. And it really feels like whoever's going to be able to play these next 4 or 5 games the cleanest, if it goes as it has been, is going to take it.
Well, I'll tell you this much too, Oliver. I mean, it's from the looks of what we've seen so far. I mean, it's not going to be these points aren't that long. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if someone slows it down, a team slows it down. But you know, attacking overheads and transition and spins and you could see the movement that those lobs are creating. I mean, the ball's going side to side here.
Lovely variation from Powers, as we're used to seeing from him. Just adept at being able to go to any of the panels at pretty much any time. Very tough to read where he's going with that overhead.
Well, and that was a great definitive net plan by Nunez and Powers. I mean, Powers was controlling every bit of that point, right?
Absolutely. And I think I'd be very surprised if, say, this set does get close and it's 4-all, 5-all. I'd be very surprised if Nunez and Powers don't play more points like that, where it's much more organized, much more structured, like you're saying, Guy, and more measured. Because there's just not, why take the risk of losing a set for going for too much. And Tin and Tommy are right here. I mean, they can they have all the shots. They've got a lot of firepower, and they've definitely got some errors from Nunez and Powers so far. If that keeps happening, I mean, anything can happen here.
You see how quick Powers and Nunez switch. The longer they stay unswitched, the more the baseline team could take advantage of it. But this is where Nunez is so good mixing it up. You see how Powers slides off the court to let him keep hitting. This is where I'm not sure if they have that definitive plan, who's hitting the overheads, because the point before, it was Powers controlling the tempo. Now it's Nunez, which isn't a bad thing on either side as long as there's not the confusion of it.
Exactly. You know, either guy so good with dominating the point with the overhead. You, like you're saying, Guy, you just want to make it clear, you know, who's going to take the ball.
That ball right there, Oliver's got to go to the side screen. Otherwise, it's got to go to the middle. That's the one that Gregurovic just steps up and
40 love. Game, Nunez, Powers. They lead the first set 4-3.
And I think that's that game right there. That's more of what we're going to see from Powers and Nunez, right, Oliver? I mean, the interesting thing was again that it seems to me Nunez and Powers, from an overhead perspective, are just going with whoever's hitting the overhead. Keep hitting the overhead.
Yeah, and while, you know, the unforced errors are coming, I'm not sure if it really matters if we need to be that organized. What I'd like to see is, you know, like the errors sort of clean up a little bit, and let's see if we can get the level I think that all these guys are capable of.
Love 30.
You see Nunez starting to get comfortable moving up. Not that it takes a whole lot for him to get comfortable doing that, but
Love 40.
again, we saw a very tight set up to 3-all. No one really had their feet under him, Oliver, but now you're seeing a little separation from Nunez and Powers.
Game, Nunez, Powers. They lead the first set 5
And that's
games to
how
3.
quickly it can go here. This could be a quick hold for Nunez and then boom, set over. But we'll see if Gregurovic and Ostojic can kind of dig in here. Would love to see him, you know, take this breaker serve and go to the switch. You know, only 4-5 down, and or have a real chance to fight for this first set, which could be a big momentum one. You know, Powers and Nunez, not a team you really want to give a lot of confidence to. Have them feeling, you know, great about, you know, their game. I would imagine they're not super happy with some of the errors from the first set. So to come out of it, you know, 6-3 or 6-4, they're going to feel pretty good about that, knowing that the level for them is probably only can go up. So, yeah, interesting game here to see how it impacts the first set in this match.
Well, and you're right. I mean, whether they win or lose this game, Ostojic and Gregurovic, they need to make Nunez and Powers fight for it, which they already are in this point, because it could change the momentum going into the second set for sure.
Yeah, this is I think a nice longer point when we've seen past couple games that few of those kind of loose errors. So to knuckle down here and build some rhythm, I think it's good for them. We'll see if it
probably
pays off.
longest point of the match. Yeah, longest point of the match so far. Oh.
And you're right, Guy. You know, that backhand, it's a big part of the Gregurovic Ostojic plan as a team. It's you know, trying to get Tommy that backhand look, because he really places it well. It's difficult to read how hard he's going to hit it, but they definitely need that to be clicking to have a chance in this one, I think.
Well, right, and that's probably the biggest weapon on the court that's got to be eliminated. That ball cannot be hit off the deck. because when Powers goes there or Nunez goes there, whoever's in front of Gregurovic has to stay in front of him. They can't cheat to the middle because he could easily go down the line. So if Powers is hitting that ball like that to do that backhand, he's playing 85% of the court by himself. I wouldn't want to live like that either, right, Oliver?
Well, it's funny. I think because it gets a little psychological at some point because oftentimes we'll go right at someone's. That's great digs. Oftentimes we'll go literally at someone's weapon to basically show them, actually, I don't care about whatever the thing you think you do well is, because I'm going to defend it. So. There's that element too, So if Mark is giving him those drives, Mark's smart enough to, know where he's putting that overhead, and he might not care, and that might work out for him. It might not, but it's definitely another approach.
Yeah, no, it's a great thought. I mean, I think it creates transition. I think it creates them not lobbing, right, because the drive's coming, so it speeds the point up. But and maybe that's what they want. They want to change a little bit of the lob to drive ratio, just like there. You saw the error, right?
And we've seen Gregurovic have like quite a few errors up till now, and so it's almost like baiting it. So okay, well, yeah, go ahead, keep driving. We're quite happy to volley it, because eventually you're gonna miss, because that's what has been happening. Now, if that backhand now starts to he starts to spot them, and the misses don't go away, then yeah, I agree with you, Guy. I think that could be very troublesome. So it's always a balance, and it's always sort of carefully. It's an emergent situation, right? So it's always changing, and it's fascinating to see how the adjustments happen in real time. At this point, it's been a bit sloppy here and there, but this game in particular has been the best game of the match. I think we're seeing a lot more patience. We're seeing some really cool gets, a bit of transition work. We're seeing a bit more of a methodical process from all four players, and it's been good to watch.
Yeah, and if you're going to play someone's strength to speed up the point, because the strength meaning their offense, meaning they're probably going to drive the ball, as long as that's what you want and your intent is that, and you're comfortable with the volleys, then and not only that, is from a percentage base, is it creating points that you're winning, or errors that your opponents are making, then great tactic.
Exactly. That is vicious lefty cuts, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say if he lobbed one more time, I was going to see if Nunez goes back to Gregurovic. Ooh.
15-30.
That's a great spot, Powers will, has a lot of confidence in his volleys. He's obviously a great volley. You don't win as many national titles as he has without one, but he will stick out that forehand, and there are errors possible, just like that one.
Yeah, this match is kind of slowing down a little bit, Oliver, like the match with Tomas and his partner previously.
Yeah,
against Gregurovic and Ostojic.
Exactly. It's what I would have expected. I would have been very surprised if it really kept the pace that we saw in the first, let's say, 7 games. I don't think it will be as slow as that quarterfinal, but you never know. And that's an uncharacteristic error from Powers there in transition. And it's given Gregurovic and Ostojic a chance here to, like we talked about, switch sides, at 4-5 and be able to back on serve and be able to sort of serve to get to 5-all. Let's see how Powers and Nunez manage this situation. See how much they really care about taking this set right now. And I think if they do, if they really care, we're going to see a very methodical process, a very slow process right here to get back to deuce.
I don't think Powers is going to. Yeah, it was wide.
Game, Tim and Tommy. Games are 5-4, Nunez and Powers in the first set.
Yeah, and I think you see that miss there, Oliver, is because of the backhand of Gregurovic. You know, I mean, off the deck. I mean, I know we just had that conversation, which I think is a really good one.
4-5.
But I still think that's the biggest shot on that side of the court, and that's the one that's going to hurt them.
I mean, it can hurt you. It can hurt you if you want to stick out a volley, right? I mean, if you want to stick out your hand and volley, it can hurt you. But if Powers hits that backhand, hits that overhead, and Gregurovic hits the backhand, I mean, Nunez can decide whether he wants to volley that or not. I mean, he's perfectly happy like going back too. So, you know, an overhead miss to me doesn't make a lot of sense at any time, because you can always leave the net. So, I think it's you know, Powers is, you know, happy, just kind of still exploring and feeling out, you know, his overheads in the game right now. We see him moving in, blitzing there, just basically taking the game on, taking the point on, and you know, obviously feeling very, very comfortable. It's funny, like all of these errors that we've seen from, you know, arguably, you know, two of the best players, you know, on the tour right now. You know, I think we're seeing them out of more of a kind of a confidence than we are anything else. Like I don't think that they're not playing to me like they're all that concerned with what's happening.
By the way, that serve was complete
15-30.
silliness. Did you see that serve?
Yeah.
I mean, that almost went. I mean, wow, what a great volley by Gregurovic. Still fast. Fast points here.
Yep.
40-30. Game,
Yeah, and this is
Tim
interesting
and
now,
Tommy.
because
Games are
if you were
5-all, first set.
say you were Nunez and Powers and you were super confident and, you know, you're happy kind of just swinging away and kind of doing whatever up to this point. Well, now it's 5-all, and you kind of have a decision to make. You know, are we going to lock this down and sort of, you know, sort of manage what's happening, or are we going to keep kind of freestyling and hope it works out? Because Gregurovic and Ostojic are right here. They've proven that you know, they're not going anywhere, and they're quite happy to collect some unforced errors when they can. But anything can happen at 5-all.
And a lot of these partnerships, Oliver, are so new that there's not a lot of history. So there's not that mental thought process of, hey, I've never beaten them before. I mean, everyone thinks they can beat everyone these days. I mean, that's just the mindset. It's not like the days when you played Durant and Mitchell or Broderick Palmer, you know, teams that absolutely dominated for years, that you walked into the match thinking success would be to win a set. I mean, everyone thinks they can win these matches these days.
Love 15.
And that's a wild miss from Powers there. Very surprising, especially at this stage in the match.
Swinging backhand volley, you mean?
Yeah. Like way deep.
Yeah, it just goes back to having the patience to play and develop the points.
And with every miss,
it's
yeah, go ahead, Guy.
I was going to say, it's interesting. I mean, Powers and Nunez were just up 5-3 5 minutes ago, and then all of a sudden, Gregurovic and Ostojic are completely controlling the tempo now.
And with every miss, with every overhead miss or drive miss, you're breathing life, into the opponent, right? You're letting them believe that, that they can win this match, and yeah, it's surprising to see, up to this point, so many errors from Nunez Powers. But again, anything can change. I mean, right now could be a moment where, okay, the errors just stop, and it's a mental thing more than anything. It's just a decision, right? You just decide, hey, actually, I'm not going to miss anymore. So we'll see. Well, it's almost like Nunez didn't think that lob was in, and almost stood it there too long. He kind of had to rely on his incredible wheels to be able to get back there.
I tell you what, Gregurovic and Ostojic, another young team that just plays the right way. I mean, they certainly do, don't they?
They've developed a very cool sort of team style, and extremely athletic. I don't know if you've seen these guys up in person, but it's a nice pinch there. You don't want to do too many dunks on Powers. I wouldn't be surprised if Mark were here, he would tell us, actually, I gave literally a short lob down the line to bait that exact shot. But yeah, lovely ball, lovely setup.
15-30.
Unusual to be followed up by a volley miss though.
I tell you what, Tommy Gregurovic is lucky he's not laying on the court still after that.
Yeah. There's that forehand, that stab I talked about. If you can spot that ball, like, Powers will go for that. Will go for that volley. So you've seen two of those forehand missed volleys already this set. And Gregurovic and Ostojic, here we are. They're up 6-5 in this first set, and they're giving it to the two seeds here, and the reigning national champions.
That's for sure, and they've won the last 3 games in a row, and they have much more rhythm and balance and tempo than Nunez and Powers. I do believe Nunez and Powers need to figure out what their net scheme is. There's just, I don't want to call it miscommunication, but there's in terms of, if they know their net scheme and where they're hitting the balls, they both become better players for one another. But they're both hitting volleys, they're both hitting overheads. And that's what makes them so good.
Love 15.
Is when they have some type of identity. I mean, with the lefty-righty, you got to know who's hitting the overheads. Otherwise, there's going to be miscommunication. And you said it best, too, Oliver, a minute ago. I mean, having to hit forehand volley. Places.
30 all.
There's a real moment here, I think, for Nunez and Powers, because you were gifted 2 faults to begin this game to go 30 love up to get into the tiebreak. Now you missed a couple volleys. It's 30 all. Like, what do you do here? Because if you lose this point, you're now a set point down. You got a chance to, you lose the set. Let's say, and now you're grinding out. You got 2 sets ahead of you. I mean, this is a huge moment, really, for both teams.
And you're seeing Powers kind of dictate play more, and this is what we were just talking about 30 seconds ago. I mean, they're
What a volley!
wow,
Unbelievable volley!
My goodness!
30-40.
Wow, Oliver.
And Mark will hold his ground. He's got fantastic hands. We just saw it there, and that's that's tough to compete with when the ball comes back that quick.
Nunez had what he wanted. That's where Nunez is so good, sneaking in and soft hands.
And in.
And
a
we
good
have
look.
set point.
Yeah, it's
Great
good.
look.
It's a good look from Nunez there. I mean, you can't really blame him for going for that drop. How many times have we seen Powers bail his team out with a massive forehand in a big moment?
That's just experience and confidence. I mean,
this is where, Guy's at his best. So disruptive, so much pressure up there.
wow.
And out.
His hands, Oliver, are so quiet, aren't they?
And he's
It's
so
good.
fast.
Well, that identity we were talking about with who was hitting overheads, they found it here, right?
Seems like they found something they like. And, big moment here. Chance for Nunez and Powers to get this to a tiebreak. Feel like this set deserves a tiebreak. It's been that close. We'll see if we get one.
Deuce.
What? That was a big forehand right there from Ostojic. And that's how much Gregurovic trusts his volleys and his partner's volleys. I mean, he's just basically pushing that serve in there and isn't worried about it at all.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder for club players too. Is this, you don't stress too much about what serve you have or what you're doing with it. Make sure you get it in, come in, have get a low wide base and you get the point started. The serve's not really there to get any free points. It's that make your first volley, try and take the net and go from there. You see the best in the business doing it here with nothing flashy. So nice thing to remind ourselves. The serve doesn't have to be fancy. Really the best serves are the ones that are reliable.
And in.
Here we go, set point again.
Wow, 3 this game.
Yeah, and that's when he just pushes it in. I mean, it's not hurting them at all. Like this, it's not hurting them.
No, you're not losing the point. Okay, you might lose the
No.
net, but you're not losing the point.
That's just frustration.
Yeah, and these are the ups and the downs. These matches, especially when you have a lot of firepower. Sometimes that firepower doesn't always fire spot on. To be able to deal with these moments.
Wow.
Here we go, off to the tiebreak.
Well, there's your tiebreaker, right, Oliver?
I have a feeling we will see a little bit more of the same that we saw this set, and it's going to be down to who sort of makes their shots. You know, all 4 players have shown us that they want to go for it this evening, and it's whoever's going to be making them. So let's see how this first set goes.
And nobody's afraid to pull the trigger, right?
Correct. And when it's funny because when everyone's hot, it's pretty magical to witness, and we might get there this evening. But up till now, it's been a bit the other way, which is when you know, everyone's not necessarily on at the same time.
Well, you've seen some momentum, right? It was 5-3 Nunez Powers, and then 6-5 Gregurovic, Ostojic, and then obviously we're dead even here. Oliver, you can't be more dead even than 6-all 0-0 in the tiebreaker, can you?
That's true enough.
And there's that ball to Tommy Gregurovic, open backhand. But like you said earlier, I mean, created the miss, right? He created what he wanted. How about that?
Yeah.
But I will say this, and give me your thoughts. I mean, Powers, when he hits that overhead there, he knows he's got to cover the middle with the forehand volley because Nunez cannot – he has to stay on his line. I mean, I think he knows that. That's what's happened when Gregurovic hasn't missed.
Yeah, and I think Powers, you know, backs his, you know, his coverage. I feel like if he were concerned about his court positioning, he could slide over to the right more. So if he's happy, you know, there, then so be it. Even if it means hitting a few more forehands.
See if Nunez pulls it back to that. Yep. Such solid hands.
And that's good pressure from Gregurovic there. He's showing he's not scared to pull the trigger in those moments and challenge the hands. And why not? We've seen a lot of missed volleys this set. There's another one, just challenging, always there, threatening. And you can imagine, you know, when he's on, it's just a lot to deal with because the ball's coming quick, and again, boom. And there's the missed volley. Notice that consistent pressure. So when it's on, it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. If you're getting some mistakes, you're getting some, you know, net clips or some long drives, then you know, maybe you just keep letting him rip. But to your point, guy, you know, at some point, you know, if the math isn't checking out, you've got to avoid it. You've got to kind of neutralize it.
1-2.
We're seeing like we talked about earlier, we're seeing the game sort of evolve a little bit, right? Decision making change with the new information and the new circumstances. Here's another rip. I'm not going to challenge this time. That's great
I mean,
coverage.
That is wingspan right there. Wingspan 101, Oliver.
Absolutely. As I was saying earlier, if you've ever seen these guys in person, I mean, these are big dudes. They're extremely athletic. I mean, both well over 6 foot, and they move super well. They cover so much ground, and we saw a great example of it right there.
Yeah, and I think that, Oliver, I think that's what Gregurovic and Ostojic do so well. They use their range, they use their reach, and they create. I think they do want to play fast, and they create those situations where they stuff volleys and whatnot. I mean, they're very good at moving north and south, up and back on the court. Again, this creates bad transition when you go to that open ball off the deck to that backhand. Smart lob by Powers.
Lovely close.
Yeah, no one's getting fooled by what's a drive or what's a lob, are they, Oliver?
Big part of the game, right, is being able to see the future, even if that future is only one shot in advance.
Well, here we are, Oliver. An hour into the match, 6-all, 3-all, dead even.
And great to see Gregurovic, and this is what the great athletes do, is they have that relentless belief in themselves. He's missed a bunch of serves in this set, but we saw him there, full commitment to that one, and it paid off because he got the freebie. And that's also something for our club players too. Is like, look, if it's your shot and it's your this is the type of shot that you want to be a player to hit, then you go for your shot. Don't think about what might happen afterwards. Like, go for what you see yourself doing. And we saw it there from Gregurovic, and yeah, it's nice because he could have just tapped it in, right? He could have just bumped it in there, but he got rewarded for his courage.
All right, Oliver, how do you see this tiebreaker going? Pick a side. Go ahead before this point's over. It's too late now.
I'll still go with Nunez and Powers here. I still think they could pull it out.
Okay.
Serve was good.
Wow. Tell you what, it did look good, like just the back of the line.
Five serving 4. 5-4.
Ostojic has one of the best serves on the tour, so especially to that ad side.
Got a bunch of different serves too, like that serve there, like a little baby cutter compared to that other one he put
Yep.
on the next court over. Powers is just sitting on top of that, isn't he?
Not surprised to see Gregurovic bail when he saw that one coming.
For sure.
Which again is a great takeaway. I mean, if you see a guy loading up and ready to hit their favorite shot, and you don't feel like you have a reasonable expectation of making that volley, you know, just let it go. It's not a big deal. We'll go back, get it off the screen, and now look, we're still competing in this point. See a lot of guys.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a classic cutter from Powers off the side screen. It just puts you in such a difficult choice. Like, do you do what Gregurovic tries to do there and just take it off one? You don't have a lot of time to see it, or do you let it go two and then risk having it die off that back screen? It's just perfect pace from Powers.
little hop overhead there, Oliver. You do one of those? you do one of those?
When the time calls.
Yep.
We see Gregurovic and Ostojic use their bodies a lot. Oh, wow.
Wow. What a shot by Powers. And you know what, Oliver? This is where you just see the experience of Mark Powers taking over. I mean, talk about playing huge in the big moments of a set. No matter what happens, I mean, those are just really 3 or 4 great points. Unfazed.
Yeah, we've seen some of those errors really trimmed down when it really matters.
It's out. Wow.
Tie break
Good
in
call.
first set to Nunez Powers, 7 games to 6.
Great first set, Oliver. We'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel presented by Joho Media.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We're here at the Aronimink Open in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In this men's semifinal match between Mark Powers and Guillermo Nunez playing against Tommy Gregurovic and Tin Ostojic. I'm with Oliver Jones. I'm Guy Moore, and I'm with Oliver Jones. Oliver, why don't you reintroduce our players here?
Yeah, so we've had a great first set in this semifinal. We've got defending national champions. We've got Mark Powers, Guillermo Nunez, and they're playing Tin Ostojic and Tommy Gregurovic, and we're having a blast out here at the Aronimink Golf Club.
I mean, what a great first set. I mean, we were an hour and almost an hour and 5 or 6 minutes in, and everything was completely tied, right, Oliver?
It couldn't have been much more even. we saw sort of the characteristics of that first set. We feel a bit sloppy the first 7 games, a lot of errors, kind of uncharacteristic errors from all the players. And as the set sort of got into the business end, we saw everyone sort of, you know, be a bit more measured, trim down the errors, and we saw you know, quality coming into that tiebreaker. And as you mentioned, their guy Mark Powers, you know, really played a excellent breaker.
Tell you what, that's just, I mean, all these guys are class acts and just phenomenal athletes, but I mean, Mark Powers has been in this game longer than any of them, and his experience and leadership just 100% showed there.
And there's a danger that, you know, that set could be, you know, deflating for Tin and Tommy here. So let's see how they respond in this first game. You know, these guys are gamers, and this is a massive opportunity to make it into a, you know, big tour final. So and also, you know, a massive chance to take out defending national champs. So yeah, there's a lot of motivation here. What a beautiful drop volley, great read from Gregurovic there, and off to a good start.
I tell you, I'd like to see, I mean, obviously, great end of that tiebreaker by Nunez and Powers, but I'd like to see more of that. I mean, that is just
40-15.
I'd like to see more of the template that they played those last few points, especially from the baseline, to be honest with you, Oliver.
Nice roller there from Ostojic.
Game, Tin and Tommy, they lead the first set. Second set, 1-0.
Yeah, and you know, even though Gregurovic and Ostojic lost the first set, they hopefully recreated some momentum going their way. I mean, it's tough being down 5-3 and coming back to a breaker where they had, I mean, they were up 5-3 in that breaker, right? And
yeah,
you called it. You know, that's tough. I mean, they could go south quick, right? But obviously they played a good slow game there. I mean, shows a lot of character.
Yeah, it's the dream start, right? You know, you lost a set, but you come out, you win that first game. So you get some mojo back, and you get that that belief back, and let's see if they can use it here. I mean, obviously, if they could snag this one, it really helps take some of that scoreboard pressure off. But you know, you expect Powers and Nunez to play pretty clean here, knowing exactly the same thing, right? They don't want to give any room, any belief to these guys. They want to keep their foot on the gas here, and so I'd expect them to play a very serious opening game in this second set.
Yeah, it's almost like who keeps their focus during these games. I mean, it's
15
good pressure from Gregurovic there, forcing Powers into a decision. And we saw Powers make that a very similar backhand volley in the first set, but not an easy volley to make over and over again. There's that backhand you're talking about there, Guy.
Yeah, it's the biggest shot on that side of the court for sure. That is such a great spot by Nunez. I mean, that's all. He didn't care if that was coming back or not. The next ball was going to be a forehand volley.
Under pressure right away.
Gotta be careful with that, Mark. You know, just going back to the long-standing conversation we've been having, I mean, I don't disagree with you, Oliver. I don't think Powers, I mean, it's really happening from Powers, not Nunez, because Nunez isn't ever going to be hitting overheads from that angle like Mark Powers is because he's not righty. But he doesn't mind hitting it there.
No. And while the errors are flowing, why would you? I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if the drive goes over, you're either going to volley it or you're going to let it go. But they're taking the risk with driving it, and we've seen misses happen from both sides. I think a little bit more on the Gregurovic side up to now. But yeah, it's just it's basically a mathematical equation, really. You know, and you just crunch the numbers.
Well, I think you're saying it the best way possible is, look, in any paddle match, you can do whatever you want as long as the percentages of what you're doing are winning you more points than they're losing points, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, their expectation of hitting ball on the open deck to Tommy Gregurovic's backhand can't be to win 100% of them, but if they're winning 70, well then fine, great tactic, right? If they're losing 70, terrible tactic.
Exactly. Yeah. And so sometimes you'll bait somebody to hit the drive because you believe that you're on that 70%, and so you'll hit overheads that you want them to drive the ball.
And by the way, that is a completely new tactic in the last, call it 2 or 3 years. You never saw players play into someone's offense like you have in the past 2 or 3 years, and it is to speed up the point. And it is intended to make your opponents make mistakes. Wow. Great shot.
And then you see that kind of bump serve again, again, you know, got the unforced error, and that's why the best serves are the ones that are reliable, because you're just always deferring the risk, putting it on the returner. If they want to take a big cut at it, then you know it's a high net relative to the length of the court, so you know it could always miss. And then hey, if it does go over, you know you've got a volleyer right there, and if they don't want to volley it, you don't want to volley it, you can just always let it go through, play it off the back screen. So it's kind of that situation where okay, well I can't lose the point. But I might win the point, because like we saw there with Nunez in that point. Look, I might win from a mistake on the return.
Right.
Nice heavy roller, especially in the cold. That thing is not an easy ball to deal with. I like the way Ostojic, you know, really closes the net down. You know, he's not backing down to that Powers forehand, which is, you know, it's a formidable weapon, but he does a great job of just standing up to it and just locking in, and it's really, you know, kind of neutralize it. I don't think we've seen Powers, you know, be able to hit through these guys at all this match, and you know, it's because they're both Gregurovic and Ostojic are really happy to stand up there and volley. Wow, great hands from Gregurovic.
Game 10 and Tommy, they lead the second set 2-1.
Legacy Media specializes in helping businesses highlight their unique brand and enhance their company culture through the power of podcasting. We offer tailored services for businesses at any stage, from startups to large companies, focusing on crafting compelling brand messaging and producing high-quality podcasts to boost their culture. Our team of content marketing experts ensures alignment between your marketing strategies and messaging to meet your specific goals. Are you ready to start building your legacy through podcasting?
Love.
So it's 2-1 in this second set here, and no one's really sort of separated themselves as a team from the other yet. It's been very close, and sort of waiting for some sort of momentum, for one team to come over. We haven't really seen it yet.
And to be honest, Oliver, we haven't seen it the whole match except for the last 4 points of the tiebreaker, right?
Right.
And I still think Nunez and Powers are content on what they're doing at the net. I mean, you saw 30 seconds ago Powers hitting all the overheads, and you just saw Nunez hitting all of them now. I mean,
yeah, I think we'll see a lot of, look, if Powers is hitting, he's going to be attacking the ad side, and then if Nunez is hitting, he's going to be attacking the do side, and whoever kind of starts that train is going to continue that train until something changes it. Like, so here we go, and Nunez attacking that do side primarily. And we'll see Mark take over. Oh, that's a wicked slash.
And by the way, think about this, Oliver, because with most lefty righties, if you were saying, hey, this is how you should play, well, guess what? I mean, these guys, that is their strategy. Their strategy is, hey, if you're attacking the overhead, I'm going to let you attack. And that's where you get in trouble right there, because you're not sure who's hitting the volley, right?
Sure.
Because you're not in the stagger. They're side by side. But obviously, because both of their overheads are so dangerous, it keeps a variety going where Gregurovic and Ostojic stay off balance. I mean, it's again, is it working? I mean, they're up a set 7-6, and it's 40-15, about to be even here. So, and like you said earlier too, Oliver, when you're playing a match, when you have all four of these guys are extremely talented, there's not going to be a set that goes, unless someone's just playing off or not playing well, there's not going to be sets where people are running away with it 6-1, 6-2. It's just not going to happen.
It's a great rip, and that's that trouble spot that you were talking about there, Guy. That backhand, it's a tricky balance, right? Because if it's on, then you have to deal with a massive weapon, and they're tricky because it's tough to always be able to volley it. It's not an easy ball to volley. You see two missed ones in a row there from Powers.
Well, my question for you, Oliver, is this: if you don't give Gregurovic that ball, which he's still seeing, obviously he loves to hit it, and the reason why is it's a great shot. But if you don't give it to him, don't you think he's going to have to beat you with the side that probably isn't as strong and press? Probably.
Oh, 100%. I'm totally with you. Yeah. I mean, And then so it becomes just a choice. It's like, it's a decision, a conscious decision. Like, okay, no, I'm going to either continue to give this guy what he wants because I don't think the numbers work out for him, or the numbers are working out for him, so okay, no thanks, you're not getting what you want anymore.
Right. And I feel like right now, just from what we're looking at, numbers are going against Nunez Powers.
Yeah, I think I think it's the tide has turned a little bit as the errors have trimmed down from the Gregurovic drive. And so here we go, and you know, as we might expect with that, if that's correct, then yeah, we've got a 3-1 lead for Gregurovic and Ostojic in this second.
Tell you what, that is a big serve, like you suggested, to the ad side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great motion. I watched it. It was a couple weeks ago playing Sound Shore, and watched these guys in the finals, and yeah, I was particularly impressed with the Ostojic serve to that ad side. Has a very sort of Sven Burish type characteristic to it. And of course, curse of the commentator, right? Of course, you'd have to miss that one.
There you go. There you go, Oliver. Keep
Sorry,
talking,
Tim.
Oliver.
Didn't mean to. Yeah. I have to apologize to him later.
Oh.
Nunez Powers. Games are 3-2 second set.
Corient is the official wealth sponsor of the APTA's 2024-25 season. Corient is a fee-only wealth manager who puts their clients at the center of everything they do. Learn more at corient.com. I tell you what, Oliver, that was a quick game. Redirects the momentum, right?
Yeah, a couple of freebies at the end there, and here we are at 2-3, and it's close again. So, like we were talking about, you know, no team has really been able to separate themselves either by level or on the score, and so we're getting these kind of just very close kinds of close battles. And we're really just we're waiting for one team to separate themselves by cleaning up a lot of these errors. You know, you're seeing a lot of uncharacteristic errors from both sides. I feel like that's all it's going to take. We haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen it yet. Who's going to clean it up and make the difference there? I think anyone, you know, this match is so in the balance, but it's sort of been plagued a little bit by a lot of these sort of cheap freebies. And there's another one. Seen quite a few last two games.
Games are 3-all, second set.
Yeah, and you see two very quick games after they went up 3-love in a tough battle.
And it's always a delicate balance, you know, because, you know, you want to bring offense, obviously, right? Because you want to make sure that you're being a threat and people are concerned about, you know, what offense you could bring and that kind of looming threat. At the same time, though, you don't want to give away, you know, free points, cheap points, and make life very easy for your opponents. And I think we're seeing all four players sort of struggle with that balance a little bit. And that's right on the line.
That was out until it wasn't, right? That's a great get by Nunez.
And great to see, and this is something that the players can learn from at home too, is like Nunez is running in behind that ball ready to volley. That really was the difference in making that error, is because Ostojic knows that Nunez is right there. In the back of his mind, he kind of feels him at the net, and then he tries to go around Nunez. He hits that ball cross court and misses it. And he knows it has to be almost perfect, because if it's not, Nunez is going to be there. So if you're playing at home and you hit a great lob like that, make sure that yourself or your partner is getting on top of the net to be that net presence, and you can elicit a lot of errors from your opponents who try and thread the needle a little bit too tight. Oh, right behind him. Nice move.
He just held that. He held that so well. That's one of those shots too, Oliver. Nunez had said to himself, the next time I get that look, that's where I'm going. There was zero indecision on that.
Game, Nunez, Powers. They lead the second set 4-3.
And, we're talking about 3-1 and 3 quick games the other way for Nunez and Powers. And I credit it to one thing, and that's just experience, especially from, you're talking about the national champions. So they're national champions for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing we see is that the no panic, right? Yep, down early in the second set, but no panic. Everything's okay. Just have to play our game, limit the errors, and we'll be right back in there. And that's what we've seen. So now Nunez Powers take the lead. It's 4-3, and I think the expectation is now that they go on to close this set. I think the momentum is certainly in their corner, and Gregurovic and Ostojic are going to have to play a really good game here to just sort of stop the bleeding, get back on track, and get back into this one.
Well, what's interesting too, Oliver, is you talk about partnerships. I mean, Powers and Nunez are a new partnership. I mean, they only played very few tournaments together still, so, I mean, the way I don't want to say, you don't say this about the national champions, but they're still figuring out, what schemes work best for them. They really are.
Oh, certainly, yeah, and they're both so talented and have so much ability. It's tough to, it's got to be tough to sort of finalize, one thing or another, especially when, with Nunez, his game is evolving every day. He's so new to the sport. He's learning what things he can do and how he can shape the ball and all these different plays. So it's just an emergent thing. So then their partnership has to be commensurately emergent as well, I think.
There's no doubt. But the dynamic that Mark Powers and Guillermo Nunez have is it's very cool to see, and there really is, even being down 3-1 or being up 5-3 in the first set and then being down 5-3 in the breaker. I mean, there's no heart rate. I mean, those guys stay cool, and more than that, Oliver. I mean, you don't ever see one of them hanging their head. You don't ever see one of them. I mean, they're just a very good team.
Yeah, both played tennis at very high level, and yeah, I think you learn how to adapt and you learn how to deal with failure. Because of course, tennis you have to you fail all the time. Only one person out of a 64 draw, only one person can win, right? So 63 people are failing. That's
wow.
A nice touch.
I tell you what.
Yeah, go ahead, Guy.
Powers, I mean, you think about unique shots that players have. That forehand volley he hits where he holds it, because he could go back to his left there too, but he waits until he lets the point develop and lets, his opponent commit, and then he just goes behind him and uses the momentum against him.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. We're seeing that separation sort of emerge. That was sort of those 3 games were really big, and a cheap one here, and feels like the writing is on the wall, but it's still paddle. There's always a way back. If Gregurovic and Ostojic, can make a way through here. It's unfortunate they let cord there. We're down love 30. And this has gone very quick. The last half of this set, everything's happening all of a hurry. One point at a time now. If you're Gregurovic, Ostojic, just try and get this one.
Yeah, maybe even half a point at a time. There's your half a point right there, Oliver. Let's go.
We'll take it.
That's a good move by Nunez. He played his ace. It's all good.
Good time to gamble. 40 love up. Yeah.
Good time to take a card. Well, I'll tell you what, Oliver. Great first set there, and then great tiebreaker. But even though Gregurovic and Ostojic were up 5-3 in the breaker, I mean, I thought they had some momentum, especially going up 3-1. But Nunez and Powers, just like you said earlier, they went to lockdown 101 and tightened everything up, and that's the difference. And you have the experience of a national champion and a great young team in Gregurovic and Ostojic, for sure. It's been a pleasure calling that one with you. Any thoughts?
Nunez and Powers had many more gears they could go to, and we saw them go to sort of the next gear in later in that first set, and then through the mid to the end of that second set, and it felt like Gregurovic and Ostojic this time just didn't have a gear or two that they could go. But yeah, fantastic match. A delight to call it with you, Guy, and looking forward to the next one.
Same here, Oliver. Have a great night. That's a wrap for today. So join us tomorrow morning at 9:30 for the women's final, followed by the men's final, scheduled to begin at 11 o'clock a.m. See you guys all tomorrow. Have a great night.
Hi, I'm Spencer Caravaggio, and my paddle tip is about footwork. Typically, we as paddle players tend to stand with our feet totally flat on the ground. As somebody who can get really frustrated by missing their drive, typically it's because your feet are flat and then all of a sudden you want to spring into action. So in between balls, make sure that you keep those feet going. Not only will it help you be able to be on your toes and get ready for your drive, but it'll also help you get to some screens a little bit better. A thing that we see a lot is, people tend to move what they think is the wrong way on a screen and then they give up. But if your feet are still going, even if you move the wrong way, you can really get your body moving into that ball no matter what and be able to survive and make it through another shot. So if you can keep your feet moving, you're gonna most of the time be in really good shape.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. we never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Hi, my name is Macy Elliott, and my tip of the week is on your roller. A lot of times when I see people hit rollers, they tend to go over the ball because they want to bring it down and create more spin. But when you do that, you're actually going to create a lot of pressure on your elbow. So a lot of times when people get tennis elbow, it's from that. Instead, I want you to go straight up on the ball and pretend like you're going to finish all the way up with your knuckles to your ear. This upward motion will create more spin and it will grab less of the ball than if you were to go over it. If you grab too much of the ball, you don't get as much spin and it's not quite as effective versus going straight up the back and finishing up by your ear. I'm Macy Elliott. Hope you enjoyed this tip of the week. I'll see you on the courts.